So thank you so much for joining us, James, again. Ryan Murray, Managing Director at Greencast Hole Consulting. If you could just give us a quick background about yourself.
Absolutely. Retired Marine. I joined the Marine Corps in '87, retired in 2012. Worked in the supply chain field most of my career with a stint of recruiting, some inspector instructor stuff, and being an instructor at an MOS school for a while. Got out, worked as a transition counselor for about 4 years on base at Camp Lejeune, helping service members transition. Moved into a state role after I left there and helped with folks transitioning into roles with companies, setting up interviews and helping them bridge that gap to get into an interview and meet a company and get into a seat somewhere. And during that time, met the folks at Pike. And since then, I've spent the last 8 years here supporting the veteran transitions, helping folks transition directly into our company.
Excellent. Good to go there. Cool. So what makes the energy industry a strong fit for veterans transitioning to civilian careers from kind of your perspective?
When you look at the most basic side of the energy industry, the line crews, our line crews at an infantry rifles team or fires team are basically the same thing. The fire team and the infantry side and a crew structure are almost identical. You've got the senior guy on the crew, in our case it'd be a foreman. You've got the junior guy on the crew that's a groundman, and you've got all the folks in between. So really what it gives you is something that's really comfortable and feels familiar. You're working outside with your hands, performing a task that means something. It's not just, I'm going to work today and I'm going to make 300 widgets. You're going to work today, you're going to provide power to people who need it, to provide life support, to provide for their families as far as keeping their food sources and all of those things safe. And then storms hit, you have the opportunity to come charge in, put people's lives back in order that have been destroyed by an act of nature. So I think from that perspective, it just really touches a lot of the same buttons that serving did. And certainly you look at some of the other parts of the organizations, that teamwork and camaraderie carries through all of it because of the kind of work we do.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, right? There's a plethora of different kind of parallels between the, electric industry or energy industry in general, as well as like the military, right? So I know you mentioned like the hierarchical structure, right? So your task
Absolutely.
organization is very, very similar. But one of the kind of points that you mentioned, I thought was, really resonates with a lot of veterans is that sense of purpose, right?
Absolutely.
So, when you're serving, you have that purpose, right? Defending, the country's national interests. And when you're looking at it through the energy industry, there's still that sense of purpose, right? To your point,
Absolutely.
you're providing, I would argue, electricity nowadays is almost like essential to life sustainment, right? In many different facets. So yeah, excellent. Love to hear that for sure. What advice would you give to a veteran kind of exploring different, career fields within the energy sector?
I think for me, the biggest thing that I see veterans do when I meet with them is they immediately try to look at something that's what they've already done, and they don't look for all of the other parallels or the other opportunities that are out there. So they're really limiting their opportunities, oftentimes setting themselves up to be at a lower level in an organization than they have to start out, simply because they're starting where they're comfortable or where they know something.
Yep.
I think it's much like when we went to boot camp. Nobody goes to boot camp with the idea that, oh, this is going to be easy. It's just like football camp when I went to football camp last week. We all know it's going to be different. So we know we're going to have to challenge ourselves. We're going to have to push. We're going to have to strive to meet a higher level of capability than what we brought to the table when we came in. And if we did the same thing in our transition, if we pushed ourselves to achieve more, to show more, to stretch ourselves a little bit, I think we can accomplish so much more and get roles that are much more fitting to our levels of leadership and capability.
Yeah, 100% agree with you on that one, for sure. Any advice that you would kind of give to those kind of veterans in terms of how they can leverage some of those, I would almost argue like more intangible or kind of abstract, maybe soft skill sets would be a good way to describe it, and how you could kind of position yourself better maybe for a leadership position if it's outside potentially maybe an industry you might be familiar with?
Yeah, I think one piece of it is certainly taking what you know and then looking at how it fits with an industry that you might not have worked in previously. A person that was an Intel analyst doesn't typically think about going into the GIS side of the utilities,
right?
But they've been using geospatial mapping and everything already, so it gives them a way to take what they already know but apply it in a completely different environment than they did previously. And you can apply that across so many of the different MOSs if you just look at where the other skills, where the other tools are. I'm trying to remember the name of the program now, but Duke Energy uses a program to manage all of their maintenance for their power lines. It's the same system the Marine Corps uses to manage facilities maintenance.
There you go.
So you know a program that you've been using for facilities maintenance throughout your entire career, and don't realize that Duke uses the exact same program. I think it's Maximo. You transfer from the one to the other and you've still got an applicable skill. Supply chain folks are using an Oracle-based platform. A lot of companies are using Oracle-based platforms. So there's always that piece where you can take a technical skill and then all of the leadership, the relationships, all of those other pieces that you bring to the table as a leader and apply them.
Absolutely.
If I could throw one more thing out, just
Sure, please do.
as they're looking at things, doing the research, certainly Veterans in Energy is one place to look. Troops to Energy Jobs is another great place to go to research jobs, to see videos on day in the life, and to find resources that'll show them some of the things that they might be able to do, learn some of the skills that are there, and help better to prepare themselves for resumes building or for interviews, those types of things. So I think that's another really good resource.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a plethora of different type of opportunities for military. I know you mentioned GIS, which is a great one, but yeah, there's so many different like parallel platforms that are used within the military that are also used in the utility industry. But yeah, kind of getting that kind of creative thinking outside the box on how can I translate some of these skill sets. Any other than like veterans in energy that you would recommended for veterans that are looking to kind of transition, or any other skill sets they might want to improve on?
So I think the biggest ones is obviously we've got to learn how to sell ourselves. The teamwork thing is really good, and I think that it's always has a place. They always told me when I was transitioning to, hey, it's not the team, it's you. It is me, but I'm gonna cover both pieces. I'm gonna make sure that people understand that I can also be part of a team and that I can be depended upon to support others. So while I am an individual contributor, I do understand teamwork and how to be a part of that bigger organization and help to support everybody else.
Love it. Love it. No other questions for me? Any kind of saved rounds or alibis, as we say in the Marine Corps?
I think biggest thing is just do the research, talk to people that are in the industry. Don't be afraid to expand your network between the people that you're serving with today. Certainly our fellow veterans are great resources, but find other people that are doing jobs that you think you would do and reach out to them and do the interview, do the informational interviews, do the conversations, meet for coffee, learn more about what they do. Let people tell you the story of how they got there so you can find a pathway that'll get you to the same place.
Love it. Fantastic. Well, James, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll be in touch.
Awesome. Thank y'all.